Please silence your phones. American revolutionary Thomas Paine wrote in his pamphlet Common Sense, "It is not in number, but in unity that our great strength lies." Today, our war veterans are living representatives of that great strength that lies in the unity of our nation. From Valley Forge to Afghanistan, American soldiers fought with the unity that springs from one common cause: freedom. On behalf of Humansville Schools, I would like to welcome you to the 2021 Veterans Day Assembly. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and National Anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
When Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner almost 200 years ago, he called America the land of the free and the home of the brave. Those words are as true today as they were then. Throughout this nation's history, America's soldiers, servicemen, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guards would bravely answer the call to defend our freedom, to aid our friends and allies, and to turn back aggressors. We can never hope to pay our debt of gratitude for more than 650,000 American service members who died in the battle or the 1.4 million who were wounded. But we can recognize and honor the 25 million veterans still living today. As written on the Korean War Memorial, our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met. Those words apply equally to our World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, and Gulf War veterans. It applies to today's active service members and tomorrow's veterans as they maintain peace around the world. It is our privilege that we get to honor you veterans and say thank you and let you know we appreciate your service and honor you for your sacrifice. The price of freedom is high, and we cannot afford to forget those that are willing to pay it. Today we celebrate America's veterans for keeping this great nation, the land of the free, and the home of the brave. Thank you for your example to future generations and for the legacy you have left us to follow. We are honored by your presence today. Veterans, would you please stand when your name is read? Jerry Basinger served 3 years in the Army.
Sam Beer served 4 years in the Marines.
Kevin Cox served 4 years in the Marines, 1 year in the Army, and 1 year in the National Guard.
Howard Foley served 2 years in the Army.
Dennis Gamble served, how many years is that? Served 4 years in the Army.
Alan Hart served 6 years in the Army.
Jennifer Hartley served 20 years in the Army.
Richard Hewitt served 3.5 years in the Air Force.
Stephen Haas served 10 years in the Army.
Daniel Howard served 14 years in the Army.
Robert Jims served 13 years in the Army.
Marcia Kinney served 20 plus years in the Army National Guard.
Wanda Johnson served 4 years in the Army.
Carl Long served 4 years in the Navy.
Tamara Locke served in the Army Reserves.
Bob Payne served 2 years in the Army.
Jane Ramsey served in the Navy.
Rocky Ryan served 4 years in the Marines.
Trent Smith served 2 years in the Navy.
James Weaver served 4 years U.S. United States Marine Corps.
Daniel Whittam served 4 years in the Navy.
Leroy Young served 14.5 years in the Army.
Paul Zarin served 6 years in National Guard.
Todd Baker served 6 years in the Navy.
Gus Webb is a new enlist in the Navy.
Scott Cruz served 14 years in the Army.
Jim O'Neill served 2 years in the Army.
Tony Zier served 2 years in the Army.
Where's the other? Any other veterans that we did not recognize, please stand at this time. Please remain standing as our elementary students have some gifts to give you. That's the first time. Is that our song? I'll do
I remember. It's okay.
I'll do it. It's just repeating the first 4 notes. This is as close as I can. This is as close as I will get.
You may be seated.
I can stay there knowing all is well while you're standing on your feet, keeping watch, protecting shore to shore in the air and oceans too, defending freedom at all cost for the red, the white, and blue. Thank you, oh thank you, men and women brave and strong, to those who serve so gallantly, we sing this grateful song. To the soldiers who have traveled on to countries far and near, in peace and war you paid the price for the cause you hold so dear, that we may wake each morning bright and know that freedom rings because of your great sacrifice. Your country joins to sing. Thank you, oh thank you, men and women brave and strong, to those who serve so gallantly, we sing this grateful song. Thank you, oh thank you, men and women brave and strong, to those who serve so gallantly, we sing this grateful song.
Our guest speaker today is Carl Long. He is a pastor of Life Church in Humansville. He served as North World Alderman, was appointed as mayor, and then elected mayor, and served until the middle of August this year. He has been married to his amazing wife, Margot, for 33 plus years. He has 3 grown grandchildren and 3 grandsons. He served in the United States Navy from 1984 to 1988. Let's welcome Carl Long.
Good afternoon. Let me rearrange my notes here and get them order. I've got them just backwards, and I just noticed that as I stepped up here, so forgive me for just a second. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to be with you this afternoon and to have an opportunity to speak to the veterans, the students, staff, and administrators. So thank you to everyone who made this opportunity available and presented the invitation. I count it a high honor and a privilege, and so thank you. To our distinguished guests, those of you who have served in this great nation that we call the United States of America, who have served in our armed forces, I salute you, and I say thank you for your service and your sacrifice to this great land. No other nation in the world comes close to comparison to the United States of America. Hello? Everybody agree? Okay. I got a hand clap up there. There we go. We've been blessed by God for 245 plus years. Those blessings come with obligations and responsibilities. What do those words mean? Obligation and responsibility. An obligation is an act or course of action to which a person morally or legally is bound. It is a duty or a commitment. Responsibility goes hand in hand with that. A responsibility is the state or fact of having a duty and dealing with something or someone and making an impact upon them. In just a moment, I want to come back and talk about those two words, but first, let me tell you my story. I was raised by a single mom, myself and my two sisters. We were extremely poor. In fact, for most of my childhood, my mom was unable to work, and we survived on welfare and food stamps. As a young child, there was a lot of abuse in our home. Most of the time, it was just verbal abuse, but there were times when it was physical. I remember a time when I was in 4th or 5th grade, and my stepdad would come home from work almost every day drunk and hitting. And Mom would have us kids hide in the cornfield across the street, and we would wait there until he would pass out, and then she would flick the lights so that we would know that it was safe for us to come home. When I was 15, for some reason, my dad was awarded custody of myself and my two sisters, and I don't know why even to this day, but for some reason at that point we moved in to his house with a person that was a total stranger for the most part. Most of my young childhood, I can count on both hands the number of times that I saw my dad. At 16, my stepmom and I had a disagreement, is the word I'll use, and she kicked me out of their house. And so at 16, I got my own apartment. I worked a full-time job, paid my rent, paid my utilities, my car payment, and finished high school. The first person on my dad's side of the family to accomplish that. But during this time, I was making a lot of poor choices, a lot of bad choices. I got involved with drugs and alcohol. The wild parties were at my house. I was the only one in high school that had their own apartment, and there was very little adult supervision, and so anything and everything could happen. I knew that I needed to make some changes in my life if I was going to, or I was going to end up having a messed up life, just like I saw in the adults that were in my life and in my family. And so I knew that I needed to make some changes. So 1 month after graduating from high school, I joined the United States Navy. I had a hope that putting time and distance between those poor choices would be enough to help me have a breakthrough and to begin to make some good choices and to change and to become a better person. But the time and the space and the distance was not enough. 4 days after completing basic training in San Diego, California, I found myself unconscious in the middle of the floor in the barracks because I had alcohol poisoning. I was close to death. And if the guys that I had been out with that night would not have come back when they did, I would have died at 18 years of age. After completing my training there in California, I had a choice. The Navy said you can go to Japan or you can go to Virginia. And since I was trying to get away from all of those poor choices, I decided to go to Japan and see the world. I served aboard the USS Midway, an aircraft carrier, for 3.5 years. The Midway was an amazing tour of duty. It allowed me to see the world, one of the things that I wanted to do, and was trying to get away from Kansas, and so this afforded me that opportunity. While serving aboard that ship, I had the opportunity to visit Hong Kong and Thailand, Kenya, Africa, and Australia, the Philippines, and Korea. Listen, if you want to see the world, but you don't have deep enough pockets to do it yourself, the Navy will do it for you. They'll do it for you for free. Right, guys and gals? Just a few years of your life, and they'll let you see the world. The Navy, again, was a good way to travel and to see the world and to go places that I never dreamed possible. But in that first year aboard the ship, I was still struggling with those same old problems, drinking and doing a lot of it. The Navy taught me a lot of things, a lot of good things. It taught me the importance of attention to detail. It taught me teamwork. It taught me about taking pride in myself and in my country. I was a weapons technician while I served. I built and maintained bombs. Not really a skill set that you can use in the everyday real world, but the skill of excellence and precision was definitely at the top of that list, and so I brought that into the rest of my life, and it has been beneficial and helpful to me. I share all of this about my past and my life, my story, not for the purpose of saying, look what a terrible person I was, or look at all the bad choices I made, or even to try to be cool or to look like the person that everybody seems to want to be the fun, loving, likable guy. I share all of it so that if you happen to find yourself in those same types of situations or similar challenges in your life, I want you to know this, that you don't have to give up hope. You don't have to face those challenges alone, and you don't have to continue to face those challenges for the rest of your life. Your life can be different, and it all starts with the decision to make some changes. In fact, I'd challenge you to just start by making one change, and one change that's for the good. The Navy gave me 3 incredible gifts while I was serving there. I believe there are a lot more, but these are the 3 that are the most significant and the most important to me. The first, the Navy taught me what it meant to be a man. It taught me what it took to be a man. I'm not talking about being cool. I'm not talking about being hip. I'm not talking about all of that stuff that the world points to us and says that's what it means to be a man. I'm talking about understanding what it means to be a real man, the one who takes responsibility for his own actions, the one who fulfills his obligations to himself, to his shipmates, to his family, and to his country. I needed that at that point in my life more than anything else, because I had this vision of something else, and that something else was taking me down a bad path. The second most valuable gift, and these not necessarily ranked in order, but the second gift the Navy gave me was my amazing wife. I send her greetings. She had to work today and was not able to be here. She actually served in the United States Navy as well for 4 years. When we finished our tour of duty, she outranked me, and that's another story. But she grew up in northeast Missouri. I grew up in the Kansas City area, but we had to go to Japan to meet each other. Our story is pretty special. We met at church on a Sunday night. We dated for 3 weeks. I came home on leave for 3 weeks, and I went back and asked her to marry me. I don't recommend that. But in our case, it worked. So after proposing to her just a few short days later, the ship that I was on deployed for 6 months, and our only way of communication was through the mail. 6 months later, the Midway came home. A few days after that, we've got married, and now 33 plus years later, we are more in love today than ever before. The third gift that the Navy gave me is that it was during that time, as I was trying to discover who I was as a man and as a person, that I also discovered that Jesus loves me. Even though I had lived such a terrible life, the world tells us that you've gone too far, that you're too bad to ever change, that this is your lot in life and there's nothing you can do about it. But what I discovered is that there's someone who knows me better than I even know myself, and yet he still loves me. And he took all of those bad choices and turned them around to make something beautiful out of my life. 3 pretty incredible gifts that I treasure even to this day. What started out as a messed up life has turned around into something that's quite amazing, I think. And the change started while I was serving in the United States Navy. I strongly encourage those of you here in this building, the students, the young people, to consider serving in the armed forces. Pick the branch that's best for you. I knew that that the Army was not for me. I didn't want to walk. I didn't want to march. So I got on a boat and floated everywhere. But I encourage you, here's what I know will happen. The things that are important in this life will come to the forefront of your life, and the things that are not so important but that maybe you thought were, you'll find that they will begin to fall to the wayside. And it doesn't mean that your problems will go away, but what I do know will happen is you will begin to focus your vision for life and begin to make choices that will lead you down a solid path. The choice is yours. What you do with that understanding, that knowledge that you gain from discovering what's important in life. You can make changes, or you can go back and continue living the way you were. The Navy pointed me in the right direction. God took me by the hand and led me the rest of the way, and I have been blessed beyond measure. Blessed with an amazing wife, blessed with 3 wonderful children that are now all grown, and 3 incredible grandsons who I love more than anything in this world. I've been blessed to do some incredible things in this life. At the age of 30, I went to college and earned my bachelor's degree. Again, the first person on my father's side of the family to ever have a college education. I've owned my own business. I served here in Humansville as an alderman for a period of time, and then was appointed as mayor, and then ultimately elected as mayor. I've been blessed to pastor 2 amazing churches, one in Everton, Missouri, where we pastored for 11 years, and then here in Humansville at Life Church, where we're coming up on 6 years that we've been here in Humansville and calling Humansville home. Earlier I mentioned the words obligation and responsibility, and I want to talk about those for just a brief moment. And in doing so, I want to address the 3 different groups of people that are here in the room today. First, the students, then our veterans, and then the staff, teachers, and administrators. Students first, here you go. Guys, you have an obligation and a responsibility before you each and every day. Obligations and responsibilities to do your very best while you're here in school. Doing and giving your best, doing and giving your all, and being good, decent people. You're fulfilling these obligations and responsibilities. It happens in your schoolwork. It happens in your extracurricular activities. It happens as you treat your fellow students and teachers and the administrators with respect and with concern. You may think it doesn't matter, but your life matters. And what you do with it today will affect your tomorrow. So I challenge you to give it your all. Give it your very best, and don't settle for anything less. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not good enough. Don't let anyone tell you that you'll never amount to anything. Listen, the only person that can attach that label to your life is you. And so don't do it. Decide today that you will rise above any negative and choose to be the very best that you can be. Veterans, our obligation and responsibilities are the same today as the day we took the oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't know about you, but I don't recall ever seeing an expiration date on that oath. So I challenge you today to stay strong, to stay true, and to defend this great land with all that you are and with all that you have. Our nation is at a pivotal point in our history. We will either stand on the principles and the foundations that our forefathers laid out and built this great land on, or we will choose to chart a new course, to go a different direction, Unfortunately, history records and has proven that those new directions and new courses never make a nation stronger, but instead ultimately end up in its demise. So I hope and I pray today, veterans, and everyone else in the building for that matter, that we will rise together as Americans and that we will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America as we pledged, so help me God. Again, veterans, thank you for your service and thank you for being here today. Finally, teachers, staff, and administrators, your jobs are the most difficult and challenging they have ever been, probably in history. On one side, there are those who demand one thing from you, and on the other side, another group that demands just the opposite, and there you are trapped right in the middle, trying to satisfy both. I want you to know today that we see you. We see you and your service to our nation, and we know the difficulty that you find yourself in. So what obligation and what responsibilities do you have? It's the same thing that can be traced all the way back to the day that you made the decision to serve in the field of education. And all of us know everybody thinks it's about the money, but all the teachers and the preachers know that it's not. It's about the love of learning. It's about the love for growing. It's the love for discovering the truth and helping others do the same thing. So teachers, staff, administrators, thank you for loving our kids and our grandkids. Thank you for pouring your lives into their lives. Thank you for your continued service to our nation by teaching and training our children to be learners and to be good citizens. I declare to you today, teachers, staff, and administrators, great will be your reward. I thank you again for the great honor and for your time today. It has truly blessed me. Again, it's a privilege for me to be able to share with you. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Happy Veterans Day to all who have served. God bless you. Have a good day.